Welcome to Parker's MMA Show. If you want to learn about all things going down in the fight world, you've come to the right place. Each episode, your host Parker Keene will take a deeper dive into the always entertaining world of sanctioned fist fighting. Now here's your host, Parker Keene.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Another episode of Parker's MMA Show. We have episode 81 here. Very special guest, our guy, Sadibou Sy. He's a 9-5-2 welterweight competing in the PFL's 170-pound division. He has competed in all 3 seasons of the PFL, and he is a former kickboxing world champion. We're catching up with Sadibou ahead of his upcoming bout, August 13th, against former PFL world champion Magomed Magomedkerimov. Sadibou, the man they call the Swedish Denzel Washington. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. I love the introduction.
Of course. So, whenever we have a first-time guest on the show here, Sadibou, we like to talk about kind of where they came from. So you're a man who grew up in Sweden. What was life like growing up?
Yeah, exactly. So I grew up in Stockholm, Sweden. Yeah, it was good. It was good, to be honest. Like, martial arts wasn't in my mindset when I grew up. Like, I was gonna be a soccer player when I grew up. I always loved sports, and and then I just because of a friend, I just stumbled into kickboxing, and the rest is history.
So, Sadibou, it's my understanding you were a pretty prolific youth player when you were growing up, playing soccer or football as they call it over there. And at age 15, you kind of make the transition over to martial arts. How does that happen? Tell us the story of kind of your transition from soccer into martial arts.
Yeah, so it wasn't planned. Like in school, I had a friend that was training with Raleigh. My first coach, and he's still my coach today. And he was on me always. He was like, "Yeah, you should come and train. You should try kickboxing, right?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm playing soccer, right?" And then I was gonna switch teams, and just because, like, in between me switching teams, I just tried one session of kickboxing, and I forgot all about soccer. So it was just a fluke. It was literally, my plan was to continue playing soccer.
Talk a little bit about your experience fighting with the European kickboxing championships, and kind of, was that your first time competing on kind of that big of a stage in athletics?
So what happened was I fought for the national team in kickboxing and in Muay Thai, right? So we went all over the place. We went for a fight. I've been fighting in European championships and world championships, and for me, that's why, like, when people look at my record and see, like, yeah, he has, like, let's say for instance, when I started in PFL, I had like 7 or 8 fights, but I had like 80 kickboxing and Muay Thai fights. So for me, going through that gave me a lot of experience. And when it came to kickboxing and Muay Thai, like striking, I felt like I found myself, and I knew how I wanted to fight, and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew, like, each round how much I'm gonna, like, the output for each round, like, because I've done it so many times, and so for MMA, it took me a while to just find myself, find out, like, how I want to look and how I want to fight, and it's still a ongoing process, but I feel so much more comfortable and so much better. Like, Sadibou Sy today would crush Sadibou 1 year ago.
Talk a little bit about that. Obviously, you had a long career as a Muay Thai fighter and a kickboxer. What are some of your most proud moments of that time, leading up to your MMA start?
So I became world champion in kickboxing 3 times and in Muay Thai 1 time. Of course, those are gonna be, like, the top of the list, right? And then I had some nice, like, knockouts, that's always nice, to have a nice finish, because I always try to look for the nice finish. But just to be able to come from Sweden, right? And I've been to so many countries and so many places that I would never ever go to if it weren't for the fighting, right? And that's something that's nobody can take away from me, right? And so that's a really nice thing about being in the national team for kickboxing and Muay Thai.
So obviously you were super successful at kickboxing and in Muay Thai. Why did you decide to transition to MMA?
So, to be honest, at that point, around 2010, 2011, 2012, I was fighting, my walk-around weight was around 85 kilos, right? So, in K1, which was the biggest organization at that point, you had heavyweights and you had K1 max that was 70 kilos, which is 155 for heavyweight. So I was a little bit in between. So my thought process was, I'm gonna continue with kickboxing and Muay Thai and just add MMA to be able to get more fights and see where the biggest opportunity is gonna be. So my goal wasn't to, and my plan I should say, wasn't to not compete anymore in kickboxing and Muay Thai. But yeah, here we are. Since I started, I've only done MMA since then.
What was your first experience grappling like? I imagine someone who is a decorated kickboxer like yourself, the MMA striking is probably even rudimentary for you, but I imagine the grappling, what was that like the first time you got on the mats?
Oh my God, it was so humbling, to be honest, right? Because not only grappling but MMA in general. Because for me, like probably most of the strikers that haven't done MMA, thinking about going into MMA, I was just as soon as he's gonna go for a takedown, I'm just gonna throw a knee, right? And then if he takes me down, I'm just gonna stand up. In my mind, that was the mindset I had, and that was the mindset I went into MMA with. So when me and Raleigh, my first coach, we went to Pancrase Gym to start MMA, I already had my first pro fight booked 4 months later, before I even had my first MMA session. Yeah.
So
talk about
for it.
Yeah.
You just went for it. You dove right in and you said, I don't need this takedown defense. I'm coming to take your head off, and that's it.
Yeah. And it was so funny because when I watched that fight, I had no idea what I was doing in the grappling and in the grappling department. He was I didn't know which way to turn when he tried to take me down and stuff like that. It was brutal. But my mindset was, because my manager at that point, he asked me, he was like, so I can give you a 10-0 record and build you up and stuff like that. I'm like, come on, man. I've been fighting the toughest guys. I'm not looking for that, and I don't have the time to. After 3 years, I'm gonna start fighting real guys, right? Let's just go in there and we. So my goal was, I'm training for each fight I had. I wasn't training for that specific opponent. I was training to get better in MMA. So I didn't game plan. I didn't watch my opponent, because my thing was just I need to get better, and I'm 26 now when I started with MMA. So I don't have time to do the amateur thing and build up the record and stuff like that. I'm like, no, just go in there. I don't want to end up in 4 years and be like, oh, now I'm gonna start fighting a tough guy, and I'm happy with that.
What, from that time leading up, obviously, to your opportunity at the PFL, what was one of your favorite stories from that time?
Say that again. From what?
So throughout your regional career, what is one of your favorite stories, or something that sticks out to your mind that you remember from that time before you got the opportunity in the PFL? Yeah, in MMA.
In MMA.
Yeah.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, okay, yeah, I have one. So I fought in a Swedish organization called Superior Challenge. I fought a guy from UK, and I I was so happy because he had during the ceremonial weigh-ins, he started to like shove me and like point fingers to me and stuff like that, right? So I got up. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna wait until tomorrow, right? And as soon as we got into the cage, I was so fired up, and I have really long legs, right? So I kicked him, and he blocked the kick, and we were standing at kicking distance, and he was putting his facing forward, like, yeah, kick again, and he didn't realize that he was standing too close, so he put his head in front and tried to mock me, and I just gave him a left kick, and he fell asleep. So that was actually the favorite moment leading up to PFL, I believe.
I actually saw that highlight today. That was a great one.
Yeah, it was like, I believe it was like, if it was 40 seconds into the fight or maybe 1 minute, 40 seconds. I don't remember. It was really early into the fight. And I managed to break his arm and knock him out in like, yeah, maybe less than 2 minutes. So I was happy with that one.
Yeah, it's actually my next question is about that fight. So you fight against David Round. He kind of gets in your face. He's talking a bunch of smack and you knock him out, right? And then you really go viral, right? Like, what is it like when you have MMA legends like Uriah Faber and Chris Cyborg that are posting videos of your fight and talking about your fight? Like, how does that feel for you who's, at the time, less than 5 MMA fights in your career, I believe?
Yeah. Like for me, of course, it was fun, and it was like I appreciated it. I really did. But for me, I've always, like, when I started with MMA, just like I said, the way that I started, like booking a fight before my first practice, like I saw myself, like, not necessarily being here, but it wasn't shocking for me because I put in, I was like, I'm gonna put in the work, and everything is gonna fall in place after that. So it wasn't shocking for me, but it was very nice and very fun, of course.
So tell us a little bit about how did you end up in the PFL?
Yeah, so my manager at the time from Sweden called Magdi, he had like a collaboration with a manager in from Moment Managers called Nima, and so I believe that they were talking about like if they needed a middleweight to that they could put in the tournament. And so he just called me. He was like, "Yeah, I might have a big opportunity for you, the opportunity that we've been waiting for, right?" And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "Yeah, but if we do this, you need to. So we need to sign with Nima, and so him and Nima is gonna be my managers together." And I was like, "Cool, get me the contract. I sign with whoever she wants." And so I got the information, and then it took a couple of months, and I was just like, it sounds too good to be true, right? Because going from fighting for the regional organizations to fight for a big organization, and like everything is so much bigger. The fight purse, the interest regarding the fights, like everything was so much bigger, and everything was what I've been waiting for, what I've been training for. But it just came from out of the blue. So I was like, oh, I hope this is not too good to be true, right? Like $1 million for each weight class. Like, it sounded crazy.
So obviously you get into the PFL, you get to the first season, you make it all the way to the semifinals, and you kind of lose a heartbreaker right in the semifinals. What was your biggest lesson coming out from that first season in the PFL?
What was my biggest? Say that again. What was
your biggest lesson that you learned after your semifinal run in that first season in 2018?
yeah, like I knew like because it was 4 fights in like how long? 4 fights in maybe 4 months, something like that, uh, which was very hard. It was hard to deal with the ups and downs that comes with like fighting and like with preparing for a fight. All the mental, like it was tough to stay balanced, right? After because my first fight I lost in decision, and then my second fight I won on a nice knockout, and then I'm not even because I can't even celebrate that one because in 6 weeks it's the playoffs. So it was hard to know like how to like put my training. How much should I do? Can I go full because it's like back to back training camps and stuff like that. So it was tough dealing with like injuries and stuff like that. Just because I didn't know how to like schedule my training because I wasn't used to fighting that many times on that short of time. Plus, on the playoffs, at that point we were fighting twice in one night, which means you fight and you prepare for one guy, and then you have the other quarterfinals. You try to see like, okay, who do you think is gonna come out from that side, and try to have an idea on okay, if and when you fight that guy, how do you gonna do during like with that? But you can't look past your first opponent. So it was like it was good for me to like go through that process and take all that with me. We got a good receipt on like what we should work on and build on for the next season. And I could say the same thing for the next season leading up to this season. Like it was very like the lessons that I learned during the first 2 seasons have brought me to where I am today. And me and my team are very honest with each other. I don't need guys just telling me what I want to hear. They telling me what I need to hear and what I need to work on and that's what I've done. And I believe that we're on the right track. Yeah.
In the 2019 season, you have a fight in the quarterfinals against Ray Cooper III, right? And it's a pretty controversial draw, right? Do you still think about that fight? Obviously, Ray Cooper eventually becomes the champion. He gets the $1 million check, and you were the guy who gave him the hardest time the whole season. Do you think a little bit like I was maybe robbed of this paycheck, of this title, or have you kind of let it go at this point?
No, so that was, to be honest, one of the toughest pill for me to swallow. Not because of that, but because I didn't perform up to my standard. Like, I was already looking at the semifinals because I was so happy with the matchup with Ray Cooper because he's an amazing fighter. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take him down by any means, but. I know that if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm gonna beat him. And also like during that fight, it was tough because I clearly need him and in the belly and he lost his breath and he said that it was a low blow, which it wasn't, but that's part of the game, right? So for me, I just accepted it and I took whatever good with me and whatever bad I worked on, and you're never gonna see a fight like that for me again.
So obviously you've taken these lessons. You're on your third season, and you have a huge opportunity here coming up against Magomed Magomedkerimov, who's a former champion in this organization. What excites you about this matchup coming up?
Yeah, just like you said, he's a former champion. He hasn't lost in PFL. He's a very good fighter. He's a he can do it all. Like he can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. He's good on all the different like Yeah, he has a big. How do you say? His arsenal is big. Uh, but what intrigues me the most is actually like he hasn't lost. So I'm gonna be the first person giving him a loss, and I believe I'm gonna make it look pretty easy.
So Sadibou, obviously, you obviously believe that you're going to be the PFL champion in 2021. You're going to have the $1 million check, the welterweight belt. If you don't win it, right? If we take you out of it, who do you think is the biggest challenger for that belt in the current welterweight division?
That's not even like I can't even answer that question because my brain doesn't let me go there.
Sure. Sure.
All right, let's transition here a little bit. Let's talk about the PFL format in general. Is there one thing that you would change about the way they have it currently set up?
Oh, that's tough because like I believe that what they've done now with only 4 fights and not fighting twice a day is gonna be a benefit for the better fighter. With that being said, I'm not gonna sit and say that like previous seasons the best fighter hasn't won. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. But only have 1 fight to prepare for. It's a big difference, right? It makes a difference. It's the same for everybody, but like my first season, if you look at the guy I fought in the semifinals, and you look at his quarterfinals, and you look at my quarterfinals, the commentators they were saying that he had a sparring match, and I was going like tough fight against Bruno Santos, right? And that's part of the game, and we knew it heading into it, right? But like. I prefer this, although the experience and like the lessons I got from fighting twice on one night is something that I'm always gonna have with me, and like I think I grew from that.
Let's talk a little bit. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you. In addition to that, we ask all the fighters this, but what is the biggest problem you see with modern MMA, and what would be your solution to fix it?
Oh, that would be eye pokes for sure. And I was for the first time in my career in my first fight this season. It was an eye poke that ended that fight, and it became a no contest, which is very, very, very tough because you have two fights to get points, right? So that's for sure. And then like there should be like the judging and the scoring should be more like it shouldn't be like okay these judges they pay a lot of attention to grappling. These they pay a lot of attention to striking. These pay a lot of attention to pressure. These pay a lot of attention to doing damage. Like there should be a more strict like this and this and this is the way we're gonna judge, and everybody has to follow. Like because nowadays I believe there's so many fights like which is so tough to score because you don't know how. Like after a fight, people are always ask me like after a close fight, like who do you think won? And I'm like, I think that person, but it could be the other guy won right, and he always and he won every round on a 5-round fight because of the way the judges score in that particular event. And then the next event, the same fight, the same exact it looks exactly the same. It's gonna be 5 rounds to the other guy. That's tough. I have no idea how we can do it. Like what we can do to make it better. Maybe have fighters that as refs, like or at least people that have been not maybe professional fighters, but have more experience and knowing like all the like all the positions and stuff like that better. I don't know. What about you? What do you guys think?
Billy, I'll let you take that.
Sure. I mean, for me, the biggest problem is weight cutting. And I get very nervous watching you guys dehydrate the way that you guys do and then getting in there and having, your head kind of knocked in. And I would like to see the same way that you guys are drug tested. I would just like to see you guys weighed and hydration tested similar to the way that we do kind of like wrestling here, so that you guys can fight at a more natural weight, because it's a lot of guys that weigh the same and then cut all this weight, cut all this water for no reason, and they should just kind of fight at their natural weight, in my opinion.
To be honest, the weight cut that I'm going through now made me forget about the weight cutting. So I'm gonna, so I'm gonna, yeah. That's a perfect, the perfect answer to that question. I can't for my life understand why two guys are gonna drop 15 pounds or whatever the case may be and meet up in, let's say for instance, I walk around at 190 or 185, and me and Magomed, we both walk around at 185, let's say. Why should both of us go down to 170 and fight? And just like you said, with everything with the hydration part, and then you're gonna take punishment to the head. It's stupid to me. And the drug testing, it has to be.
What do you think the best solution to the weight cut problem is? Maybe make more weight classes, or like Billy said, maybe implement some hydration testing.
So I would love to see more weight classes. Let's say for instance we have 145, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 205, whatever. So each 10 pounds we have a weight class, right? But I was actually talking with the team about this like yesterday, and we were like, if you for instance say that, okay, I'm gonna weigh in at 171, but when I fight, I can't be more than 175 or something like that. If you have a cap, then you would force everybody to not cut weight, even if you have the weight class. The weigh-ins the day before. Or we just have to do, just like we said with the wrestling, that you do the weigh-ins just the same day. That's how you do it in wrestling, right?
Yeah, and you have to pass a hydration test on that day too. So you can't dehydrate yourself to lose the weight. You have to do it with exercise and diet.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want you living in the sauna, Sadibou. I want you living in the gym, right? Like, I want to see the best version of you, and I just don't think a dehydrated version is the best, right?
Not only a dehydrated, at one point of time, it felt like the competition is about who has the best nutritionist, which is it's stupid.
Do you notice, like, from your kickboxing and Muay Thai career to your MMA career, I would assume in kickboxing and Muay Thai you didn't have to deal with the weight cuts as much. Do you notice a big drop in your performance or your energy or how you feel going in there?
Sometimes it's gonna affect you, and if people say that it doesn't, they're just it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that if you can fight at the weight that you're walking around at, and you don't need to drop 10, 15, 20 pounds and then go up again and compete, of course your body is gonna react better. So yeah, you feel it, but I'm never gonna use it as a excuse. I'm never gonna use it as a reason for me not performing well, because I signed the contract, and I know that I can make 170. So if I make it, if the weight cut is tough, it's because I made it tough.
All right, let's transition a little bit here. I want to know, how did you get the nickname the Sweetest Denzel Washington?
Yeah, so actually it was PSN that gave me that one. So what happened was, when we met the first time, we had a car wash in Orlando, where we did the interviews, and we were at that point we were with NBC Sports, and so we met up with them and the team from PFL, and I've done 2 movies in Vietnam, right? And Denzel Washington is my favorite actor. So I was talking about when I went to the movie premiere for the first movie I was in, right? And they were like, "Yeah, how was it?" I was like, "Yeah, I was so hyped, but I have to be honest, there wasn't no Denzel Washington, right?" And from and then like walking into my next fight, they were like, "The Swedish Denzel Washington." I was like, "What?" And then I was like, fuck it, let's just run with it." So they actually asked me for season 2 if they could continue using it. I was like, "Yeah, if you feel like it's gonna be good, go for it." Like I don't, it doesn't matter for me, but it's fun.
Did you have another nickname before that?
No, I didn't.
Just first and last name. All right. Talk to me. I asked all the fighters about this, but talk to me a little bit about the mental aspect of the fight game. What are some things that you do in particular to keep your mind sharp, especially fighting in a season format like in the PFL?
Yeah. It's to be honest, it's a little bit different fighting in PFL, but like at the same time, preparing for a fight is gonna be the same. So what for me is just like I need to always stay in shape. I need to always stay close to weight. I need to always, which is grueling because I like, for instance, now this is the third time I'm cutting weight since April, um, which is tough, right? Plus you need to like, plus you need to prepare for the playoffs. So for me, I've always said that like if you the mind is 80-90% of the fight, um, and I truly believe that. So uh, during this process, like the weight cut can break people, right? For instance, and just like for me, knowing that like I've been preparing well. I've been doing everything that I should have been done leading up to the fight. That actually gives me the best mental strength because I don't have to go into the fight thinking like, okay, shit, I need to finish this fight the first round because I don't have 3 rounds in me. So to be able to prepare for the fight and it's very 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 important, and that's why. So the training gives me the mental strength, I guess.
All right. What is the best advice you have ever received about fighting or just life in general?
Oh wow. Oh, that was a big one. Oof, that's tough. Like, I think my coach is sitting here next to me. He's asleep. So before my first fight in kickboxing, I trained maybe 4 months before I had my first fight, and he actually told me, he was like, you know what? Before the night before the fight, you should think about being in the tomorrow you're gonna fight Mike Tyson. So when you dream you fighting Mike Tyson and you kick his ass. So I was like, okay. So I kicked hell the shit out of him the whole night, and then I woke up and the guy that stood ahead of me, I'm like, I just kicked Mike Tyson's ass. This guy's gonna be easy, and I carry that with me. So now I actually like when I watch my opponents and prepare for a fight, and I'm thinking like they have to watch my fights, and I'm watching their fights, and I would rather be me preparing for them than them preparing for me, and that always helps me as well.
All right. So you're now 34 years old. You've got 80 or so or more MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing fights. What would be your best advice to the next generation of fighters?
Uh, that's it's so like it's a very like wide question, but for me, uh, I I like things came easy for me when it comes to like the the technical. Like I really I understood very quickly like what I needed to do to win the fights and stuff like that, right? Uh, but I haven't always trained as hard and been as dedicated as I am today. Uh, and with that being said, like I thought that yeah, as long as I do enough to win, I'm good, which I did. But uh, like for me, it's not even about that. It's about like doing myself, putting myself in the best position by preparing the best way possible. And that's not only with the training; it's with the lifestyle, it's with everything. Like if you want to do this, you can't think that you can do this like half, like one foot in, one foot out, right? You need to really dedicate yourself, because we don't play. You don't play. You play soccer. You play basketball. You don't play MMA. And I guess.
All right, Sadibou, we try and end every interview with kind of our rapid fire segment here. I got 5 questions, just like a 5-round fight, and we try and keep it to stuff that's not necessarily about MMA, learn a little bit more about you. So I know you're a Swedish guy. I got 5 questions here, rapid fire about Sweden. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, first question. What is your favorite food from Sweden?
Oh, from Sweden. That was a curveball. Sweden doesn't have any food culture, to be honest. Like, like there's like meatballs. I don't know what I don't know the name in like. Let's say meatballs.
All right.
Swedish meatballs.
Question 2. Other than yourself, who is your favorite athlete or celebrity from Sweden?
I would say Zlatan.
I thought you were going to say that. Question 3. If you are visiting Sweden as a tourist, what is something you absolutely must see or do?
Must see in Sweden. Yeah, that's okay. You should go to the museum, but I don't know what the name of the museums. we have a lot of a lot of famous museums, but I don't even know the names of them. But I can I turn the question and say that you should not come during the winter.
I lived in Denmark for 6 months, and the winter is quite brutal in Scandinavia, so I agree. Question number 4. What is a Swedish stereotype that you think is absolutely true?
Swedish stereotype that I think is true, that Swedish women are most beautiful.
Yeah. And then question number 5. Oh, you would be remiss not to. Question 5. What makes Sweden special for you?
I have my family there, and that's I don't need no more than that. Like, I have the people that I love and that loves me. So put me anywhere in the world with those people, and I'm happy.
That's beautiful. Well, hey, that's all I have for you, Sadibou. You want to let the people know where they can find you on social media, and then any shout-outs you have.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. It's my full name, Sadibou Sy. And join the team. And we have a lot of work ahead of us, and let's have some fun.
Awesome. Well, that was episode 81 of Parker's MMA show. I'm Billy Naden. This is Parker Keene. He's Sadibou Sy. Fight this Friday, August 13th. Future PFL welterweight champion. Sadibou, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Really appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me. I need to come back.
Let's do it.
Okay, sounds good. Next fight, we'll have you on.
Let's do it.
All right, good luck, brother. Enjoy the beach.
Appreciate you guys.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Texas Trees is the premier tree care company in the DFW area. Whether you need basic maintenance or specialized services, when it comes to trees, we've got you covered. Pruning, chipping, bracing, and cabling, even root barriers and disease control, we do it all. And if you aren't sure what you need, we have certified arborists on staff to point you in the right direction. Visit us at northtexastrees.net. That's northtexastrees.net. Thanks for listening to Parker's MMA Show. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and visit ParkerKeensMMAShow.podbean.com for additional information on Parker and to stay up to date on the latest drama in the fight world. For more information and important links about today's episode, check out the show notes.